Hello, I'm Dr. Hashmi and I'm just a psychiatrist. This video is about self-harm. Why do we self-harm? Self-harm is any action we take to harm ourselves physically or emotionally. Most obvious forms are cutting ourselves with some sharp object, taking an overdose, jumping off a height, or control our food intake. Deprive ourselves from food and drink or any pleasures which are necessary to keep our bodies comfortable. Now, but why do we do it? If anybody self-harms, can make the family very anxious. Doctors looking after them becomes very anxious. It raises a lot of stress in everybody around them. And they couldn't work it out why this is happening. And very commonly, the individual is advised not to self-harm. And this strategy never works. We need to look at the reasons why people self-harm. Why do we self-harm? Why some of us like to test our bodies and minds in the context which is perceived as self-harm by others, but perfectly normal for the individuals who are doing it. The first thing you need to understand is a lot of element is psychological. And generally people self-harm from the start of their age. Usually start from teenage years. Why? Because in the development years, as I always say, the early development years are very, very important when we develop trust with this world. And if there is an issue with the trust with this world, we find hard to cope within the physical environment around us. Secondly, understanding self and our emotions is very important. If we find hard to bring our emotions within certain parameters accepted by the society, we feel misfit. Now, individuals who self-harm, they don't always self-harm to end their life. Suicide is different from self-harm. Self-harm is to satisfy oneself. Over the years, whenever I've talked to people who have self-harmed, everyone has its own reasons for any specific self-harm activity. Now, what happens in individuals' heart and mind when they self-harm is they feel lonely, they feel misunderstood, they feel excluded by the rest, not listened to. They feel extreme mistrust. And most importantly, they don't feel alive. A lot of people who self-harm, they feel that they are just not part of this real world. They have to see the blood coming out of their bodies. They have to cut themselves to feel the pain, to feel alive. There are two phenomena which actually goes very well with mental health patients, especially individuals who self-harm. One is called depersonalization. Depersonalization is when one feels not real. So individual will feel as part of some kind of character but not real. The other phenomena is derealization. That means one feels in an unreal environment. These things commonly occur with individuals who self-harm. Now, a term which is quite frequently used is emotionally unstable personality. I do not wish the word disorder. I do not use the word disorder with personality. I think we all have different types of personality organizations, and at some point I'm going to talk about them. Now, what happens in emotional instability? One feels very empty from inside. So there is nothing inside. You can't actually feel being empty if you don't have experienced it yourself. Then, when I talk about understanding self, the reason is that a lot of us don't understand ourselves. Especially emotional instability doesn't let you to understand yourself. I have never come across a single person with emotional instability and I have asked that person, describe me who you are. They're never ever able to answer me. They never understand themselves. Because emotional instability is so intense that it's very, very difficult to understand self. I don't know what I'm going to feel in the next 5 minutes. How can I understand myself? So lack of self-understanding, feeling empty inside, and then on top of it, not being able to trust the world around you, not being able to find a confiding relationship, and in addition to all this, you can't cope with anyone's presence, but you can't cope with isolation either. How dreadful that state of mind and emotions could be. People who have not experienced it find it very, very hard to comprehend. In that state of mind, one wants to be connected, wants to feel alive, wants to be in the real world. And what happens? Give yourself pain. Give yourself a painful stimulus to feel connected. And this is the reason people use to feel being connected through self-harm. The story doesn't end here. It is not one-off happening. People live their lives with self-harm, which end in causing damage to their bodies. They end in living with a lot of cuts on their arms. They can't wear half sleeves because they don't want people to know about it. When it comes to relationship with food, that's an entirely different area. The way some of us control our food intake. But in this video, I'm more focusing on emotional instability and self-harm. It's not all about ending your life. It is living with self-harm to stay alive. When you come across anyone who self-harms in the future, think about these issues. Think about the way they feel in their hearts and minds before making any judgment. We are quite quick in making judgments, but we need to understand the person behind self-harm. This self-harm is keeping them alive. This self-harm is keeping them connected. Yes, in an ideal world we can say nobody should self-harm, but then we need to help these people, assist them in regaining the control they have lost by reason of being in this world which is not their fault. Personality profile, self-harm, it is not individual's fault. They just want to express themselves, regain the lost control which they feel has been taken away from them. Thank you. I'm going to talk about WAR, willingness, ability, resources. For any task completion, you need willingness, ability, resources. Otherwise, don't bother.